Jake Mercer was just an ordinary guy doing an ordinary job on the space station Orion's Reach. As a tech mechanic, he spent his days fixing machines, checking systems, and making sure everything ran smoothly. The station was home to many species, from across the galaxy, all working together in one big, noisy community. Jake liked it because it was different and exciting, but mostly he just wanted to do his job and keep to himself. One day, while walking through one of the crowded corridors, Jake noticed a strange figure slumped against the wall. The alien was tall, with shimmering blue skin and long, delicate limbs. Her exosuit was cracked and sparking slightly. She looked tired and hurt. Jake's first thought was to keep walking. He was late for a repair job. But then something inside him made him stop. "Hey, are you okay?" Jake asked, stepping closer. The alien turned her large violet eyes toward him. "My exosuit is damaged. I need assistance," she said softly. Jake looked at the sparks flying from her suit and the faint smoke rising. "I can help. Follow me." He led her to the nearby maintenance bay, a small room filled with tools and parts. The alien, whose name he soon learned was Lyra Kai, sat quietly on a bench as Jake worked. He wasn't an expert on alien technology, but the exosuit shared some parts with human designs. Carefully, he patched the damaged circuits and replaced broken panels. Lyra Kai watched him with interest. "Thank you, Jake Mercer. Your kindness is unexpected." Jake shrugged, a bit embarrassed. "I just do what needs to be done." As he finished, the power on the station flickered and then went out. Emergency lights cast a soft red glow over everything. The sudden darkness made the room feel colder. Lyra Kai looked worried. "The station is losing power. I must return to my ship." Jake noticed her hesitation. "Wait, do you want some company? I have a small supply of hot drinks here." Lyra Kai seemed surprised but nodded. "That would be acceptable." Jake found a container with warm tea and handed it to her. They sat in silence for a moment, sipping the drink. It was quiet, except for the hum of the emergency systems. Then Lyra Kai spoke. "In my culture, sharing a drink is a sign of trust and bonding." Jake blinked. "Oh, I didn't know that." "Yes, and your kindness has created a bond between us." Jake felt his face heat up. "I was just trying to help." Lyra Kai smiled gently. "Your intentions are clear, but now by tradition, I must ask something of you." "Ask?" Jake repeated, confused. "In the Threxari culture, after bonding, a partnership is expected. This means that I would request you to become the father of my offspring." Jake nearly choked on his tea. "Wait, what?" Lyra Kai's expression was calm but serious. "It is not a demand to you personally, but a custom of my people. It honors the bond we have begun." Jake ran a hand through his hair. This was not what he had expected from a simple act of kindness. He wanted to say no, but he wasn't sure how to explain himself without offending her or causing trouble. "Look, I'm flattered, but I don't even know you." "I didn't mean to start anything serious," Jake said carefully. Lyra Kai nodded. "I understand your hesitation, but this is how the Threxari build alliances, through family bonds." The emergency lights flickered again, then the main power returned. The station buzzed back to life. Jake stood up, still thinking. "Maybe we should talk to someone who understands your culture better." Lyra Kai smiled again. "I will introduce you to my people." Jake followed her out of the maintenance bay, his mind spinning. What started as a small favor had suddenly turned into something much bigger. He wasn't sure he was ready for what came next. As they walked through the busy corridors, Jake noticed the curious looks from other aliens. Some bowed slightly to Lyra Kai, others whispered. It felt like they were part of an important event, even if Jake didn't understand why. "Why is everyone looking at us?" Jake asked. Lyra Kai replied, "Because you are now linked to me, the daughter of the Threxari matriarch. This is a rare honor for a human." Jake's eyes widened. The Threxari matriarch was one of the most powerful leaders in the galaxy. Suddenly, Jake felt very small in a very large universe. They reached a grand chamber where Lyra Kai's people waited. She introduced Jake, and the room grew quiet. The leader, an elder Threxari with silver markings on his skin, spoke in a deep voice. "Jake Mercer, your kindness has bound you to our daughter. We welcome you but expect you to honor this bond." Jake swallowed hard. This was more than he had bargained for. How could he say no without causing offense? How would he explain this back home? Lyrakai placed a gentle hand on Jake's arm. "Do not worry. We will find a way." Jake nodded, still unsure. But one thing was clear. His life was about to change forever. Jake Mercer woke up feeling like his whole world had flipped upside down. Just a few days ago, he was fixing machines and keeping to himself. Now, he was caught in the middle of something, much bigger than he ever imagined. After the meeting with the Threxari elders, Jake spent most of the day walking the halls of Orion's Reach in a daze. Lyrakai was nearby, quiet but watchful. People from the station kept looking at him strangely, whispering or bowing, which made Jake feel even more out of place. Later, Jake met with his old friend Zoya Patel, a linguist who knew many alien languages and cultures. He needed answers, and fast. "Zoya, I don't know what to do," Jake said, running a hand through his hair. "I helped Lyrakai with her suit, and now I'm supposed to be, what? Her partner? The father of her child? I don't understand any of this." Zoya smiled gently. "You accidentally did something very important in Threxari culture. Helping someone who is hurt is a sign of kindness everywhere. But for the Threxari, it means a bond has been formed. It's not just friendship, it's like a promise or an agreement." Jake frowned. "But I didn't agree to anything. I was just being nice." "That's the problem," Zoya said. "In their eyes, you did agree. And now, because Lyrakai is the daughter of the Threxari matriarch, your promise matters to her people and their politics. This is bigger than you or her alone." Jake felt the weight of her words. "So what happens now?" Zoya looked serious. "The Threxari expect you to complete the bond. That means forming a true partnership. In their culture, this often leads to having offspring together. It's how they create strong alliances between families and planets." Jake shook his head. "But I'm just a mechanic. I'm not ready for this kind of responsibility." Zoya placed a comforting hand on his shoulder. "No one expects you to understand all of it immediately, but you'll need to learn fast. I can help you with their customs and language." Over the next few days, Jake met more Threxari officials, all treating him with respect, and sometimes expectation. The news spread quickly through the station. People asked him questions, some friendly, some with curiosity. Jake realized he was becoming famous or infamous. Lyrakai stayed close, often silent, but Jake could see the trust growing in her eyes. She was serious about this bond, but she wasn't pushing him. Instead, she offered quiet support. One afternoon, Jake and Zoya sat in the station's library studying Threxari culture books and recordings. "The Threxari are proud and strong," Zoya explained. "Their traditions go back thousands of years. They believe that families are the foundation of peace and power. When two people bond, they unite not only themselves, but their entire clans." Jake nodded slowly. "I get that. But how do I even start with something like this? It's not like I can just say, let's be partners and expect everyone to agree." "You're right," Zoya said with a smile. "They have ceremonies, rituals, and tests. It's a lot to take in, but if you show respect and honesty, it will go a long way." Jake looked out the window, watching ships move in and out of the station. "I just wanted to be nice. Now it feels like I'm trapped in a story I didn't ask for." Zoya laughed softly. "Welcome to intergalactic diplomacy. Sometimes kindness has consequences." That evening, Jake was invited to a gathering of Threxari diplomats. The room was filled with shimmering colors from their bioluminescent clothing. Music played softly, and the air smelled faintly of spices from their home world. Lyrakai stood beside him as they entered. "This is our way of welcoming you," she said quietly. Jake smiled nervously. The diplomats greeted him warmly but with clear expectations. During the gathering, they explained more about the partnership and the importance of fathering an heir. It wasn't just about family, it was about securing peace and alliances. Jake realized that saying no outright could offend the Threxari and cause problems between their people and Earth. But agreeing without understanding was just as dangerous. The next day, Jake and Lyrakai had a private conversation. "Jake," she said softly, "I know this is difficult, but you have shown kindness, courage, and honesty. These are qualities we respect." Jake looked into her violet eyes. "I want to do what's right, but I'm scared. What if I fail?" Lyrakai smiled gently. "You will not be alone. I will help you. Together we can learn." Jake felt a small hope grow inside him. Maybe this strange journey was not just about duty. Maybe it was about something more. But there were still questions and challenges ahead. Jake knew that to survive, and maybe even thrive, he would need to understand the Threxari world, their customs, and their hearts. And he would have to decide what kind of future he wanted, not just for himself, but for all the people connected to this bond. Jake Mercer could still feel the weight of the Threxari gathering in his chest. The peaceful music, the glowing clothes, the serious faces, all of it reminded him just how much was at stake. This was no ordinary invitation. It was a test, a challenge, and maybe even a trap. The next morning, Jake was summoned to a formal meeting with the Threxari Council, a group of powerful leaders who made the decisions for their people. He wasn't sure what to expect, but he knew it wouldn't be simple. When Jake entered the grand chamber, he was struck by the quiet power in the room. The council members sat in a circle, their faces calm but watchful. At the center was the matriarch herself, Lyrakai's mother, a tall, regal woman with silver hair and piercing eyes. "Jake Mercer," the matriarch began, her voice deep and steady, "your actions have bound you to our daughter. This bond is more than a promise, it is a responsibility, one that affects our people and yours." Jake swallowed nervously. "I understand. I want to do what is right." The matriarch nodded. "Good. Because the bond requires more than words, we offer you an alliance. Wealth, honor, and a place at our high table await if you agree to complete the bond with Lyrakai." Jake's mind raced. The high table was the center of Threxari power, their political heart. Such an offer was beyond anything he imagined. "You want me to?" Jake hesitated. "To father her offspring," the matriarch finished. "This child will be a symbol of unity between our species. It will strengthen the peace and bring benefits to both worlds." Jake looked at Lyrakai, who nodded silently. There was no pressure in her eyes, only hope. "I don't know if I'm ready," Jake admitted. "This is a big responsibility, and I'm not sure I can handle it." The matriarch's expression softened. "No one expects you to do this lightly, but you must understand. Refusing would be seen as an insult. It could harm relations between Earth and Threxar." Jake's heart sank. The idea of causing an interstellar crisis because of a personal choice was overwhelming. "Is there no other way?" Jake asked. "There are traditions," the matriarch said, "but our people are wise. We will listen to reason. Yet the bond must be honored." After the meeting, Jake walked through the station's gardens with Lyrakai. The plants glowed softly in the artificial light, creating a peaceful world inside the metal walls. "I didn't expect things to become so serious," Jake said quietly. Lyrakai looked at him. "Neither did I. But this is our way. We build trust and peace through family." Jake sighed. "It's hard for me to accept. I'm just a human with simple dreams." "You are more than that," Lyrakai said gently. "You have shown kindness, courage, and honesty. These are the qualities we value." Jake smiled faintly. "I want to believe that, but what if I fail?" "You won't," she said. "I will be by your side." Back in his quarters, Jake sat alone, turning the offer over in his mind. Accepting meant changing his life forever, but refusing could start a conflict neither side wanted. He thought about Earth, about his family and friends. What would they think. How could he explain this impossible choice? The next day, Jake asked Zoya to help him understand more. Is there a way to delay this, to find another solution? Zoya nodded. Sometimes cultures have trial periods or tests. Maybe you could propose a temporary bond to learn more about each other before making a final decision. Jake liked that idea. It gave him time to think and to build a real connection with Lyrakai. When Jake told Lyrakai, she considered it carefully. A trial period is not common for the Threxari, but your honesty is respected. I will speak to my mother. Later, Lyrakai returned with good news. The matriarch agreed to a trial period. It would be a chance to show respect and build trust without rushing into anything permanent. Relieved but still nervous, Jake prepared for the challenge ahead. The trial period meant ceremonies, meetings, and public appearances. It was a test not only of his willingness, but of his ability to adapt. Jake realized this was more than just about one person or one planet. It was about bridging two worlds, about showing what humanity could offer: kindness, respect, and courage even in the face of the unknown. As the trial began, Jake felt a strange mix of fear and hope. He didn't know what the future held, but for the first time he believed that maybe, just maybe, he could make a difference. The trial period began with much ceremony. Jake Mercer found himself at the center of attention, not as a mechanic fixing machines, but as a symbol of hope for peace between Earth and the Threxari. The station buzzed with curiosity, and Jake felt the eyes of many species upon him. Lyrakai walked beside him through the bustling corridors of Orion's Reach. Her calm presence was a comfort, but Jake still felt uncertain. This bond was more than tradition. It was a challenge to everything he knew. The first ceremony was a test of trust. Jake was asked to participate in a ritual where he and Lyrakai shared their life stories in front of a gathering of Threxari elders. It was a way to show honesty and openness, values important to their culture. Jake took a deep breath and began. He spoke about his childhood on Earth, his love for machines, and his simple dream of making the universe a better place. Lyrakai followed with stories of her people's history, their struggles, and their hopes. When they finished, the elders nodded approvingly. They could see the truth in their words, but the real test was yet to come. Over the next days, Jake attended lessons on Threxari customs, language, and history. He was a quick learner, but the information was vast and sometimes confusing. Lyrakai helped him, patiently explaining the meanings behind each tradition. Your culture is very different from ours, she said one evening as they studied. But your honesty and kindness are clear. Jake smiled. I never thought I'd have to learn alien customs like this. Lyrakai laughed softly. We all must change to build peace. One of the most challenging parts of the trial was the public ceremony where Jake had to meet other important members of the Threxari clans. These were powerful figures with sharp eyes and careful words. Jake felt nervous, but he remembered something Zoya had told him. Be yourself and show respect. At the ceremony, Jake spoke openly about his hopes for unity between their peoples. He shared ideas about cooperation, technology, and mutual understanding. The Threxari listened carefully, some nodding, others silent. When it was over, Lyrakai's father approached Jake. You carry yourself with honor, he said. You are not just a mechanic, you are a man of courage. Jake felt a surge of pride. Maybe this bond was more than a duty. Maybe it was a chance to build something new. Meanwhile, back on Earth, news of Jake's trial spread quickly. Many were surprised, some skeptical, but most hoped for a peaceful outcome. Jake received messages of support from friends and family, reminding him he was not alone. Despite the pressure, Jake found moments of joy. He and Lyrakai spent time exploring parts of the station together, sharing meals, and learning about each other's worlds. Slowly, trust grew, but not everything was easy. Some Threxari doubted a human could understand their ways. Others worried about the risks of uniting two very different species. Jake faced questions and challenges daily. Yet, he also discovered that kindness, honesty, and respect crossed all boundaries. One day, during a quiet walk in the station's gardens, Jake and Lyrikai talked about the future. "I don't know what will happen after the trial," Jake said, "but I want to do my best." Lyrikai looked at him with a gentle smile. "That is all anyone can ask. We will face it together." Just then, an alert sounded across the station. A message came from the Threxari homeworld. A rival faction, the Kravlik, had made threats against the Alliance. Jake's heart tightened. This was more than ceremony. It was real. The peace they hoped for was fragile. The next days were filled with tense meetings and increased security. Jake found himself drawn into the complex politics of alien diplomacy. He realized that this bond was not only about family but about protecting the future of two civilizations. Despite the dangers, Jake felt ready to stand firm. He was no longer just a mechanic. He was a part of something bigger. As the trial period continued, Jake and Lyrikai's bond grew stronger. They were learning to trust each other, to face challenges side by side, and somewhere deep inside, Jake found hope. Hope that kindness could change the course of history. Jake Mercer's life had changed more than he ever expected. From fixing machines to becoming a key figure in a delicate interspecies alliance, every day brought new challenges. But nothing prepared him for what happened next. The threat from the Kravlik, a rival alien faction, grew stronger. They did not want the Earth-Threxari alliance to succeed. Their attacks had started with harsh words and now moved to dangerous actions. One evening, as Jake and Lyrikai walked through a quiet corridor of Orion's Reach, the lights suddenly flickered. A sharp noise echoed nearby. A warning. "Stay close," Jake said, his voice low. Lyrikai nodded, her eyes scanning the shadows. Suddenly, a group of armed figures appeared. They wore dark armor and masks, moving quickly to surround Jake and Lyrikai. Jake's heart pounded. These were the saboteurs, the Kravlik agents. Their mission was clear: stop the Alliance by any means. "Don't hurt her," Jake shouted, as he stepped in front of Lyrikai. "I'm the one you want." The leader of the group spoke in a harsh voice. "You, human, have no place in Threxari affairs. This bond is a lie, and it will end tonight." Jake's mind raced. There was no way he could fight them all alone. But he wasn't going to give up. Just as the situation seemed desperate, alarms blared throughout the station. Security forces rushed to the scene. The saboteurs, realizing they were caught, quickly scattered and disappeared into the maze of corridors. Jake and Lyrikai were safe, but the danger was very real. After the attack, the station's commander called a meeting with Jake and the Threxari leaders. "This was an act of terrorism," the commander said grimly. "We must be prepared for more attempts." Lyrikai looked at Jake with concern. "This shows how much they fear our bond." Jake nodded. "It also shows how important it is." Over the next days, security increased, but Jake could feel the tension growing. The Kravlik would not give up easily. Despite the risks, Jake refused to hide. He continued to attend ceremonies and meet with the Threxari clans. He wanted to prove that fear would not control their future. One afternoon, while working with Lyrikai on a diplomatic report, Jake noticed something strange in the station's communication logs. "There's been unusual activity," he said, pointing to the data. "Someone has been sending false messages trying to start a conflict between Earth and Threxar." Zoya joined him, frowning. "This is serious. It could undo everything we've worked for." Jake and Zoya began investigating, following clues through the station's systems. Their search led them to a hidden room deep in the station. Inside, they found devices used to send fake messages and hack communications. Suddenly, they heard footsteps. A shadow moved toward them. "Kravlik," Jake whispered. They managed to hide just in time as two saboteurs entered the room. The agents worked quickly, but Jake and Zoya memorized their faces and plans. After the saboteurs left, Jake and Zoya reported everything to station security. With the new information, the security forces arrested several Kravlik agents and stopped further attacks. The rescue and investigation made Jake a hero in the eyes of many, but he knew the danger was not gone. The most important moment came during the next diplomatic summit. Leaders from many species gathered to discuss peace and cooperation. Jake was invited to speak. Standing before the crowd, he felt the weight of responsibility. "I stand here not just as a human but as someone who believes in kindness and unity," Jake said. "We have faced threats and challenges, but together we are stronger. Our bond is a symbol of hope for the future." The crowd erupted in applause. Lyrakai stood beside him, proud and supportive. After the speech, Lyrakai took Jake's hand. "You saved my life and our future." Jake smiled. "We saved it together." That night, as the station quieted, Jake thought about how far he had come. From a simple act of kindness to standing against danger, his life was now tied to something much bigger, and he was ready to face whatever came next, with courage, hope, and Lyrakai by his side. The days following the attack by the Kravlik were tense but hopeful. Security on Orion's Reach was tighter, and the station buzzed with the renewed energy of a people determined to protect their fragile alliance. Jake Mercer had become a figure of strength and unity, not just for the Threxari, but for many species who wanted peace. Still, Jake knew the moment he had been quietly fearing was coming. The Threxari matriarch would soon ask him to make a final choice. One evening, as the twin moons of a nearby planet cast a soft glow through the station's observation deck, Lyrakai sat beside Jake. "Mother wishes to speak with you tomorrow," she said softly. Jake nodded, trying to steady his nerves. "I know what this means. It's time to decide." Lyrakai smiled gently. "Yes, but remember, whatever you choose, you have our respect." The next day, Jake was led to the grand chamber where the council gathered. The matriarch sat at the head of the room, her silver hair gleaming under the soft lights. "Jake Mercer," she began, her voice calm but firm. "You have honored our people with your kindness, your courage, and your honesty. You have faced challenges none could expect. Now the bond you share with my daughter requires a decision." Jake took a deep breath. "I understand." The matriarch continued. "You may choose to walk away with honor. You may leave this bond behind without shame, or you may choose to stay, to complete the bond, and help us shape the future of our worlds." The room was silent. Jake could feel the weight of history pressing on his shoulders. He thought about Earth, about his simple life before all this, about Lyrakai and the trust they had built, about the alliance between species, fragile but full of hope. "I want to be honest," Jake said finally. "This is not easy for me. I did not expect any of this when I helped Lyrakai with her suit, but I also see the importance of what we have started." He looked at the matriarch. "I want to help. I want to be part of this future." The matriarch's eyes softened. "Then you will have our full support." Lyrakai stepped forward, taking Jake's hand. "I am grateful for your choice. We will face the future together." The council members began to discuss plans for the alliance, new agreements, joint missions, and celebrations to honor the bond. After the meeting, Jake and Lyrakai walked through the station's gardens. The soft light of glowing plants surrounded them. "I never thought I'd be here," Jake said quietly. "But I'm glad I am." Lyrakai smiled. "So am I." As they walked, Jake felt a new confidence growing inside him. He was no longer just a man caught in an alien tradition. He was a bridge between worlds. Back on Earth, messages of congratulations and encouragement reached him from friends and family. People were proud of what he had done. But Jake knew this was only the beginning. The true work, the real partnership, was just starting. That night, Jake lay in his quarters, thinking about the future. The challenges ahead would be many. There would be more ceremonies, more learning, and perhaps even more dangers. But now he was ready. He had chosen his path. He had chosen to stand with Lyrakai and the Threxari, and together they would build something new. Jake Mercer sat quietly in his quarters aboard Orion's Reach, staring out at the endless stars shining beyond the thick glass. It was hard to believe how much had changed since the day he simply offered help to a stranger with a broken suit. That small act of kindness had pulled him into a world he never expected, one filled with ancient traditions, powerful politics, and new connections. Now, after the choice he made to stand with Lyrakai and the Threxari, Jake felt a calm strength within him. This was no longer about duty or pressure. It was about something deeper. The station was buzzing with preparations for a celebration, the final ceremony to honor the bond between Jake and Lyrakai. It would be a day to mark the beginning of a new alliance and the hope for a peaceful future between humans and Threxari. Jake looked over at Lyrakai, who was helping with the decorations. Her violet eyes sparkled with excitement and something softer. Trust. "Are you ready?" she asked, turning to him with a gentle smile. Jake nodded. More than ever. The ceremony took place in the grand hall filled with glowing lights and beings from many worlds. Leaders, diplomats, and citizens gathered to witness the union, a symbol of unity that stretched far beyond two individuals. As Jake stood beside Lyrakai, the matriarch spoke to the crowd. "Today, we celebrate not just a bond between two souls but the joining of two peoples. Through courage and kindness, Jake Mercer has shown us the power of understanding and hope." The words echoed through the hall, and Jake felt a warmth spread through him. This was more than he had ever dreamed. When the ceremony ended, Jake and Lyrakai stepped outside into the gardens. The soft light of the glowing plants made everything look magical. "I never imagined my life would come to this," Jake said softly, "from fixing machines to being part of something bigger." Lyrakai took his hand. "You did not just help me, you helped all of us." Jake smiled. "I just wanted to be nice." "Sometimes," Lyrakai said, "being nice can change the universe." Over the following weeks, Jake and Lyrakai worked closely to build their new life together. They attended meetings, planned joint missions, and shared their cultures openly. Jake learned more about Threxari traditions, and Lyrakai discovered human ways. Their bond became a bridge, one that connected two very different worlds. Earth and Threxar began new projects together, technology exchanges, cultural events, and plans for peaceful exploration. The alliance grew stronger, and with it, hope for the future. Jake knew challenges would come. There would be misunderstandings, fears, and setbacks. But now he believed that kindness and courage could overcome them. One evening, as Jake and Lyrakai watched ships sail past the station's windows, she turned to him. "What do you see in the future?" she asked. Jake smiled, thinking of all they had faced. "I see a world where being kind isn't just a small act but the way we live," he said. "A future where people, no matter how different, can come together to build something amazing." Lyrakai nodded. "A future we will create together." Jake took her hand, feeling the strength of their bond. This was no longer about obligation or tradition. It was about hope, trust, and the promise of new beginnings. And it all started because he chose to be kind.